The People Stack, powered by Offrd.co.
Hello and welcome to the People Stack, powered by Offrd.co. Aarthi here, and I've got Raj from Offrd with me. Today, we're getting into something that every Indian startup and SME has wrestled with at some point. Leave rules and why they're so darn confusing to get right.
Hey folks, just a quick bit up top. This is general info, not legal advice, okay? But hopefully it'll help you figure out the leave maze, especially if you're new to Indian HR.
So let's jump in. I keep hearing founders say, why is leave so confusing for small companies? And honestly, sometimes even I trip up when there's yet another change or nuance. Raj, why does it feel like there's no simple answer?
Yeah, and this actually ties to past episodes, right? Like, we keep coming back to the fact that India doesn't have just one HR law. For leave, it depends. What kind of company you have, where your employee sits, and what state rules say. The concept of leave is universal, but the trouble is all the edge cases, different baselines, all those register requirements and state quirks that pile up.
Exactly, and I bet most listeners don't even know where to start. Raj, let's say someone's just opened a small business. How do they figure out which rules actually apply?
First thing, look at the business type. Factories, you're under the Factories Act, and that sets a very clear annual leave framework, including, the 240 days worked rule before leave kicks in, and you earn one leave for every 20 days worked. But if you're a typical startup, a software office, retail, or studio, you're always under your state's Shops and Establishments Act. And that's not one law, it's 30 plus acts. So location, even for a single company policy, it suddenly matters a lot.
And that's probably why so many startups get blindsided. I remember my first time I picked up a model leave policy off the net and only later realized it actually undershot Kerala's minimum requirements. Had to scramble to fix things when someone pointed that out.
Yeah, that's the operational trap. Like, if you set one policy for everyone, it'll either miss the minimum somewhere or go overboard in another. I love using Karnataka versus Kerala as an example. In Karnataka, you get a day for every 20 days worked, plus even maternity leave counts in your calculation up to 12 weeks. Kerala's way different. 12 days of holidays with wages after a year, but then separate buckets for sick and casual leave, and even how much can accumulate is different. So your single policy, not so simple in practice.
And that brings me to the buckets. Most founders just do 3: earned leave, sick leave, and casual leave. Simple, right? But it turns out not so simple in the eyes of the law.
Totally. Most places assume the 3 bucket system will work everywhere. But in Karnataka, the Act actually lets you take annual leave as well as up to 12 days for sickness, accident, or other reasonable cause. Kerala splits it even further. Annual holidays, sick leave, casual leave, all distinct with their own caps. And if you mush them all together as just 24 days of flexible leave, the statute doesn't see it that way. That leads to hair-pulling moments, especially when someone's exiting and wants every last day calculated properly.
And then there's maternity leave. I've seen some policies where people just roll that into general leave buckets, but that's not even close to what the law expects, right?
Right. Maternity isn't just another leave type you juggle. The Maternity Benefit Act stands on its own. 26 weeks, of which up to 8 can be before the due date. And for women with 2 or more kids, it changes again. Small businesses often miss this and only realize when it's too late. It's compliance, but it's also about planning. So work doesn't pause if one person is away. You need a system that's both predictable and respectful.
And that idea of a flexi pool, I'm just going to say, usually creates more pain than flexibility. People want clarity, especially if something happens or when they resign. If there's one thing I've learned from the past episodes, it's that naming and separating things out, whether it's leave or probation or notice periods, always keeps you out of trouble down the line.
Absolutely. And that connects to the hidden challenges too. Like, let's be real. A lot of founders forget about how leave data needs to be managed. First, it's accrual and carry forward rules. Kerala says you can stack up to 24 days, but Karnataka has its own provisions and even some possibilities for scheme based setups for continuity. Then there's the multi state pain. Remote is cool for payroll tax, but it's a compliance headache for leave. And then record keeping, which is always left for later. Delhi's register of leave, that form burned, even if you're not in Delhi, the mindset helps. States expect structured, defensible records. No register, no proof. Policy doesn't matter.
So now the big one. What's a practical leave setup for a 15-person SaaS team running in 3 states, where the founder really doesn't want to drown in paperwork?
Okay, I'll break it up. 5 steps, just like we did with probation management a few weeks ago. First, map the law for every team member, location and type of establishment. Just jot it down, doesn't need to be fancy. Second, pick sensible, universal labels: earned leave, casual leave, sick leave, maternity leave. Internally, you can map each to the local minimums, so compliance is covered. Third, keep approval flow simple, a single, consistent process. Don't make it a mini project every time someone applies for leave. Fourth, standardize your ledger. Whether you use a SaaS tool or a spreadsheet doesn't matter, but it should be one employee, one record, everything tracked. Fifth, and I always see people skip this, make your exit and final settlement super clear. Spell out exactly what happens to unused earned leave, how you pay it out, how you calculate. Don't hide it in fine print or leave it vague.
That actually makes it feel manageable, right? It's less about guesswork, more about building a system. Like we talked about in episode 5, where small teams treat HR as an afterthought and then everything unravels. Even a basic spreadsheet, modeled after something like Delhi's register, is often enough for compliance as long as you're consistent.
Exactly. And honestly, it's that system mindset which makes things defensible. If you've got clear records and coherent rules, whether it's leave, probation, or even moonlighting policies, you can show anyone, labor inspector, new HR lead, whoever, that you are running a fair shop. Most problems only crop up when people try to wing it instead of setting a baseline process.
Okay, last question from a listener. We're just 5 people. Can we actually use a plain Excel file to manage this? Or do we need a fancy tool? I always say, yes, absolutely. Get inspired by simple formats like the Delhi register, columns for name, type of leave, opening balance, leave taken, balance left, and keep it up to date. Once you grow, move to a SaaS tool, but a spreadsheet works great for getting compliant without tech overwhelm.
Spot on. Start simple, but standardize from day one. As your team grows, complexity grows, and you don't want your legacy to be confusion. But with some discipline upfront, you've got a resilient audit-proof process, and that matters as much for team trust as for compliance.
All right, Raj, last one. Give us that one-liner summary. What's the real struggle with leave for small Indian companies?
Honestly, founders just want fairness and predictability, but leave laws, they're fragmented and messy. The way through is clear policies mapped to the right law and consistent records. That's it.
Love it. Well, thanks, Raj, for being here and breaking all this down. And thanks to everyone who tuned in. We'll be back with more People Stack soon. Maybe something on HR tech next time?
Thanks, Aarthi. This was awesome. Looking forward to the next one.
All right, everyone. See you next time on the People Stack. Bye, Raj.
Bye, Aarthi. Bye, folks.